Does it work? Me? Yeah, great. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Elizaveta Zhuk. I'm a professor teaching in Russia and in some schools abroad. So today I'm going to be talking about multi-city Olympic Games, which I refer to here as polycentric format. So staging sport mega events recently has been connected with multiple problems. Among them are huge costs and cost overruns, excessive sports infrastructure which is being built for the sake of the event and after that is being abandoned or very poorly used, becoming a burden for the budget of municipality. Environmental concerns, public oppositions. So these are just very few challenges connected with hosting mega events, including the Olympic Games recently. So, no surprise that international sport organizations, including the International Olympic Committee, faced a deficit of candidates willing and able to host the event recently. At the same time, we could see increased number of joint bids recently, especially for football events. So, the events which are being hosted by more than 2 countries are named co-hosted event. So co-hosting is approach to staging sport mega events when 2 or more countries share costs and risks related to staging this event. So co-hosting as a format may become a solution to many sport mega events related challenges. So just a few examples of previously co-hosted sport mega events. You can see 4 previous European Championships and 2 upcoming ones, 2028 and 2032, and 1 past and 2 upcoming FIFA World Cups, 2026 and 2030, which will be co-hosted by 3 countries at a time. But what about the Olympic Games? So if we check the Olympic Agenda 2020, it is saying co-hosting is possible notably for the reasons of geography and sustainability. So what are the reasons of geography? Let's say 2 or more countries share common mountains, so they can share the related infrastructure and host the event together. What about the reasons of sustainability? For instance, 1 country which is hosting the event doesn't have sports infrastructure required, so a part of the event can go to another country where this infrastructure is already in place. The decision to include co-hosting into the Olympic Agenda 2020 can be seen as a reaction of the IOC to the deficit of candidates to host the event due to host-related challenges. However, up till now, we didn't have any co-hosted Olympic Games. But at the same time, I believe we can say that there is a polycentric trend. And I want to make a difference here. So when I say co-hosting, I mean specifically a situation when there's 2 or more countries organizing the event together. When I say polycentric for the purposes of presentation, I mean a multi-city format, when the event is being hosted by 1 country, but in several cities or several regions around the country. So, a few examples of polycentric multi-city games. The Winter Olympic Games in Cortina, French Alps 2030, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about them in a minute, and Utah 2034. So what is interesting about Utah 2034 is usually when we think about the Olympic Games, who is hosting the Olympic Games? It's never the country, it's always the city, isn't it? It's not Russia hosting the Olympic Games in 2014. It's Sochi. It's not London. It's not England 2012. It's London. But what we can see here is not Salt Lake City. It's Utah 2034, including Salt Lake City. So by this, the organizers decided to emphasize that this is polycentric with the whole state being involved into hosting. What about the Olympic Games? I mean, Summer Olympic Games. Paris 2024 is also an interesting experience, especially in a part of surfing competition, which has been hosted in French Polynesia. So technically, administratively, it's a part of France. At the same time, physically, it's located 15,000 kilometers away from French main territory. LA 2028. So it goes beyond LA alone. It's a big part of California, but also the state of Oklahoma, which is located in the middle of the country, very, very far from LA. Finally, Brisbane 2032. So just above the Olympic rings, you can see, it says Queensland. So this is the name of the state. As you know from the first presentation today, states in Australia are really huge. So the organizers are emphasizing that the event is not going to be just happening in Brisbane. So they include into the logo the name of the state, Queensland. So a little bit more about particular events which we will see in the future. So Milan Cortina. So you can see it's one country, but with 5 clusters around the northern Italy, including Milan, Cortina, Verona, and 2 more. So this is a polycentric multi-city format within one country. Another bid, which was made for 2026, and which was a runner-up bid, they lost to Milan Cortina, is Stockholm Åre 2026. So the idea was to follow the Olympic Agenda 2020 and to make it polycentric, multi-city format with 4 clusters, 3 of which are located in Sweden itself. And one is over here, Sigulda. It is another country. It's Latvia. So the bidding committee decided to organize luge skeleton and bobsleigh event in Sigulda. Why? The thinking was sustainability. So they knew they don't have this facility in their country. They had to face a dilemma. Do we build this venue, which cost from 100, somewhere between 100 and 200 million euro, or do we bring this event to the place where this facility is already in place? So they decided to go to Latvia, another country, and organize the event there. That was their idea. And this was very smart, I think, because how many people around the world do luge skeleton and bobsleigh? How do you think? Not so many. Really, no. So, to the best of my knowledge, there are 2,000 registered athletes who are doing luge skeleton and bobsleigh. So, bobsleigh, luge, and skeleton are not the sports which you can do for fun. You can do swimming, yoga, running, many different things for fun. Luge, skeleton, bobsleigh, you don't do that for fun. If you do that, it means you are a professional athlete. You need a particular sliding track for that, a very complicated and very costly infrastructure. So, the thinking of the organizers from Sweden were, so instead of building the facility, which we will not use after the event is over, we better go and host it in another country. That's about sustainability. Now, French Winter Olympic Games 2030. So, again, this is one host country, but please look at the logo. French Alps. It doesn't say any city. It's not Grenoble. It's not Albertville. It's not Lyon. It's not even administrative region of France. It's a physical region. Alps, which are located on the territory of France, which I believe give the organizers a lot of flexibility in terms of where exactly they organize those events. So for now, the idea is to have 4 clusters. You can see them in blue with white letters on the map. The interesting situation is speed skating now. So France is facing the dilemma also. So do they build a new facility, which is expensive? Do they renovate the existing facility? Again, can be quite expensive. Or do they organize those events at the place where the infrastructure is already there? And the 2 options are the Netherlands. The Netherlands is very well known for speed skating, so they have a fantastic infrastructure. However, the Netherlands is quite far from French Alp region. Or to bring the event to Turin, which is just here on your right on the map. Turin organized those events as a part of the Olympic Games 2006, so they could do that. And if France do this, if they give a part of the event to Turin, this will be quite sustainable. And finally, Ahmedabad 2036 Olympic bid. So there is also a possibility that there will be multi-city format in this case, polycentric format. So clearly, Ahmedabad is going to be the main host, having the main Olympic village, staging most of the competitions. But some other cities, among them are Mumbai, Pune, Agra, Goa, which are located which are quite widely spread around the country, as you can say. So they also express some interest to host some of the events. So I believe that if these cities have infrastructure there, it makes sense to give them a right to locate some events. And it can also be still Ahmedabad on the logo as a main principal host. So the list of positive effects and potential challenges of co-hosting and multi-city format is quite big. But let me move straight to the main advantages of polycentric Olympic Games. So I'm deeply convinced that mega events should be incorporated into a broader development planning, so strategic national sport development program, but also urban development program. Events must fit into a long-term strategy which is dictated by the location. And this is about the importance of long-term planning of the event. So the event is lasting for 2 or 4 weeks. But what happens after? So we should start with legacy conceptualization before anything, even before we actually submit the bid. We must think what happens with general and sports infrastructure after the event is over. And in this regard, there must be a good synergy between the event and a particular location where we bring this event to. So from this perspective, polycentric format or co-hosting format, when there's 2 or more countries involved, help us to bring the event to locations where, on one hand, there is a required infrastructure, or it helps us to build infrastructure in those places where it is really needed, so it doesn't turn into the white elephant after the event is gone. However, when we talk about the Olympic Games, we cannot forget about particularities which are connected with the Olympic Games alone. Olympic Games have such unique elements as opening and closing ceremonies, the Olympic Village, Olympic fire, torch relay, Olympic logo, Finally, there's a lot of symbolism and prestige connected with the Olympic Games, way more than with any other sporting events. So, if we co-host the event, if we have more than one host country, so how do we split these unique elements of the Olympic Games? Okay, technically, we can have more than one Olympic village. But some of these elements of the Olympic Games are symbolic. Can we split the Olympic fire? What do we do? Do we have two Olympic fires? Or do we have one, but then who is having it? Opening ceremony. Every host would love to have an opening ceremony, for sure. It's a huge event. Everyone wants to have it. Everyone wants to watch it. So this is especially a problem when we talk about the Olympic Games hosted by more than one country. When we talk about multi-city polycentric format within one country, this is less of a problem. And in any case, this can be solved by having one principal host. So in case of the Ahmedabad Olympic bid, it clearly could be Ahmedabad city. So to conclude, I would like to say that nowadays international sport organizations, including the IOC, start to adopt polycentric format. The main reasons for co-hosting nowadays is sharing risks and costs. Polycentric format helps to develop a good synergy between the event, the location, and the infrastructure. What is important, co-hosting can help international organizations to avoid the deficit of good potential hosts and to bring the event to new geographies. And finally, we could see that the Olympic Games are becoming more and more polycentric, and I believe we will see more of such multi-city events in the future. And finally, I believe we will have at some point co-hosted Olympic Games with more than one country involved. Well, that was supposed to be the last slide. Yeah, this one. So please feel free to contact me, and thank you very much for your attention.